Somehow we're already halfway through the year and I am having probably my best reading year ever. I'm about 20 books ahead of my reading challenge of 100 books. I have so many 5 stars, probably more than ever, so we're going to talk about some of them and then some of my disappointments. Let's start with some of the best ones. If I had to choose a favorite, which my answer probably would change if you asked me tomorrow, but out of the 13 books I gave 5-star to, which is more than I usually do in a whole year, I think I would choose The Everlasting. At least today. This is a fantasy romance and the writing is not even my usual style. It's more lyrical than I tend to enjoy. It's kind of a myth retelling vibes, which usually makes me feel kind of emotionally distanced from the story, but was not an issue with that one. It was a lot more than I thought it would be. But originally you're following this man who is a professor, specifically is obsessed with the stories of Una Everlasting. She's this legendary person and he gets a chance to be sent back in time to write her last story when she saves the queen. So he goes back in time knowing full well how her story ends, so you're following him having to think about that while encouraging her to get to that point. And the story becomes a lot more than that, but obviously I'm not going to tell you, but this was absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Definitely a book that you will want to hug after you finish with it because the emotions you go through throughout this story, absolutely worth it. As far as nonfiction, I would give it to Caliban and the Witch, which is more academic level than I'm used to, and it was actually really nice. It makes me want to read more challenging books as much as possible. But yes, this one is kind of a mix of history and feminism, and it's absolutely worth it. As far as favorite sequel, I'm glad that it wasn't a challenge this year to try and catch up to as many series as possible because it's not going well. I've only read 6 books that were not the first book in a series, and 2 of them were this month. So not that many options, but the best one that I have read would have to be A Trade of Blood, which is only coming out in August. I have the advanced reader copy. This is the 3rd book after A Tainted Cup, and then I'll put the 2nd book on the screen. I forgot the title. But those are murder mysteries in a fantasy world that I just adore, following Anna and Din. And Anna is just the best. She's so funny. I love her. And they are solving these like high stakes, again, murder mysteries. In this one specifically, you're following the son of one of the family that has murdered the daughter of the other family, and things need to be solved in order for a war not to start. So that's all I'm going to say. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Definitely the best sequel I've read this year. What about new releases that I haven't read yet for 2026? I have 3 to mention. I've been pretty good at actually reading them as soon as possible, but I haven't read yet The Ending Writes Itself, which was co-written by V. Schwab. I have it on my waiting list at the library. Like, I need to do a video where I just try to catch up to all my holds because I have way too many. But yes, this one is a mystery, a murder mystery also. Looking forward to that one for sure. I've heard mixed reviews, but I want to try it anyway. I also want to try Destiny's Edge, which is written by Emma Wong, same author that wrote Blood Over Bright Haven. This one you can get on her website. You can sign up for her newsletter. It's about 200 pages and I really want to read that. And also a quick shout out to The Tapestry of Fate, which is the 2nd book of, again, title, excuse my mind, I'll put it on the screen. But this was a fantasy book where you're following a woman who is in her 40s. She used to be a pirate and then she's sucked into one last adventure, but then you get book 2. So I've heard really good things about the 2nd one, so I decided to crack and add it to my waiting list at the library also. Now, as for most anticipated releases for the rest of the year, I have so many. I feel like September, I'm booked, okay? I have no time to do anything because so many books are coming out that month. If I had to choose the one in the #1 spot, the one that I'm dying the most to read, it would have to be the one by Becky Chambers coming out in October because I have read everything else by her and I'm desperate. I want something else. And this one is As You Wake, Break the Shell. So yes, another sci-fi, please. There are 3 that I do have the advanced reader copy, so I'll do a vlog where I just read as many of them as possible. I have Victorious by V. Schwab that's coming out in October. I have Cyan by James Islington, the one that wrote The Will of the Many, so he's coming out with a sci-fi book. I'm going to read that. And Paper Ghost Town by Sarah Addison Allen, which is also coming out in September. So like I said, I'll read all of that in one video telling you which ones are worth it, which hopefully will be all of them. There are 3 books coming out on September 8th that I need to pre-order. The first one is Witches of Cambridge by Alice Hoffman, the author that wrote Practical Magic. Isn't the movie, the 2nd one, coming out also in September? Again, I will be home September, the whole month. Yes, this is a new one by her, a new series, and it's Witches in Cambridge. Do I need anything else? No. Dark Academia for the fall and witchy. Yes, absolutely. There's also Tempest by Victoria Aveyard and Type of Story by Arfwan. So yes, I need all of these in my life. On September 29th, there is Mistra by Madeline Miller. I tried to Google it for pronunciation, I'm sorry. And in October, there are 2 more. The first one is The Sixth Faction, because teenage Emily absolutely wants to have that in her life. Hopefully it's going to be good. I definitely will be getting to that. And the last one is by Elif Shafak. I've seen multiple dates changing, but right now what I'm seeing is October 15th. Coming out with In One Brief Moment, All Eternity. I will read anything by her. I've read, what, like 4 or 5 of her books at least. Love them all, so yes, we'll read that. So yeah, my top 10 most anticipated releases for the rest of the year. So many good books are coming out this year. Okay, the biggest disappointment. I decided to focus on the ones that I did finish, because this year I'm really learning to not finish books when I'm not enjoying them, which is probably why I'm having such a good year. I feel like it's finally sticking in that I will not, it doesn't get better. You know, if you force yourself, it doesn't get better, at least for me, that's my experience. And there's so many books out there. I will not get the chance to read all of them. So like, if I'm not feeling it, it's not worth it. So the 2 that I did unfortunately finish, To the Lighthouse. I will use every chance I get to say how much I did not care for this book. I do have 2 more books by her on my shelf, so I will give her another shot, but I hated this. I will say it loud and clear and proudly, because so many people feel ashamed or like scared to admit they don't like a popular book. Listen, I can understand what it has done for literature. Hated it. So not for me. And same thing with Clara and the Sun. I have a couple books by him on my shelf because I had heard that his writing is so great, storytelling, and I've heard that this is probably his worst. So I will, again, try other ones, but this was just okay. I expected so much more, especially everyone saying this writing was so beautiful, and I don't see it. Now, as far as the biggest surprises, I have 2 that I really wanted to talk about. The first one is The End of the Day by Claire North. This took me by surprise because I read this in a vlog where I was reading the lowest rated books on my shelf, and out of the 4, there are 2 I ended up enjoying. I know the average rating was like 3.4 or something, which is low for Goodreads. I feel like if I give 3.5 to a book, it's a good book. If Goodreads does, it's a terrible book. I feel like so many people give 5 stars to everything they read, or like there are books that I've read that have like a 5-star rating average and they're terrible. Obviously everyone's taste is different, but I expected the worst and I really enjoyed it. I think it's because her writing is very literary fiction, very stream of consciousness, but then she writes kind of sci-fi-y books, and I feel like the combo is not something that most people are used to, but it just needs its audience, because you're following Charlie, who is employed by death, and he goes to meet some people either as courtesy or as a warning. So obviously not everyone is going to take that well, so he goes through a lot in a few years that you're following him. Think PTSD, and I feel like it really affects the way the writing is, because stream of consciousness, him kind of losing it a little bit over time, and it was beautiful. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.25, which is really good for me, but clearly Goodreads people don't agree. It was worth it. But you know, I went into it with low expectations, so that probably helped. And the second one is Neverworld Wake, which I had been told it contained a trope that I like, which is people reliving the same day over and over, or just time loops in general. And it does, but that's all I knew, and it was still so worth it. I love when you find a book that you're enjoying and then it's taking you by surprise. You don't know where it's going. In this one, you're following this girl who was going to this high school with rich kids, and she had a boyfriend there, this group of friends, and he dies in like mysterious circumstances. It's labeled as suicide, but you know, rich people kind of all hush hush, and it's hidden away. And a year later, there's a birthday going on with that group of friends, so she goes, and they get in a car accident, but they don't realize. They make it back home, and then this man shows up and tells them, no, you actually had a car accident and you're all between life and death. You have to choose one of you that will survive, and you're stuck in a time loop until you do. So of course, teenagers that are, you know, selfish, and nobody wants to be the one dying. So she's stuck in that loop for a while, so she decides to use that time to try and figure out what happened to her boyfriend. And it goes in wild directions that I didn't expect, and I really enjoyed it. As for new favorite authors, I struggle to do that after reading only 1 or 2 books by an author, because what if, you know, if that was the only one that is good and I'll hate everything else. But I have 4 to talk about. 3 are nonfiction, which again, surprise for me, but I did really enjoy David Graeber, which I would recommend Bullshit Jobs by him. That was super interesting. Every chapter went deeper and deeper into the topic. I did also read Debt 5,000 Years by him, which was also enjoyable, and I have more books by him on my TBR, so I'll definitely read more. That was good. And Sylvia Federici, which is the author that wrote Calvin and the Witch. Again, I have another book by her on my shelf, so I will read more by her. Naomi Klein, for sure, I'm reading more because I did buy another book by her, The Shock Doctrine, so I'll read more. Totally worth it. And I actually just finished Homegoing by, is it Yasi? I tried to Google it, I forgot. I only read that one book by her though, so I'm worried. A lot of you told me to read another one by her, so I did put my name on the waiting list at the library, so I'll try more, but there's always that thing, like, what if it's the only one? But either way, I would still recommend Homegoing. It really took me by surprise. It had been on my shelf for like 10 years. As for new favorite crush, I don't get really crushes for the characters, but I'll mention some of my favorite romances. I did really love the one from The Everlasting, obviously. I also had so much fun reading Dance of Thieves. It's making me want to read Romantasy, so I'm actually doing that probably next week because I had so much fun. I was laughing, kicking my feet, just giggling to myself the whole time. It was just so good and fun, and I want to find more books like that. So that one was also on my shelf for way too long, so I'm so glad I got to it. And a few actually of you told me that you read it and also loved it, so that's the best. And as far as like just following good characters, I did really like the ones in The Night We Met, but the situation was so messy. That one was a contemporary romance, and yeah, super messy, but I did feel like the characters were just good people, so you want them to be okay, but yeah, that was a lot. Now, as far as books that made me cry, I don't cry super easily, but I did I did cry when I read The Nightingale. Again, a book that had been on my shelf for like 10 years. I said I was so over World War II stories, and then I think my review on Goodreads is literally that did the author laid it on way too thickly? Yes. Should she have done more research with the French? Oui. Did I still cry enough to worry my cat? Also yes, because I couldn't stop crying. And I've heard the negative reviews, and I don't even disagree, but if you make me cry so much, you need to mention. So yes, that was the one that made me cry the most. I was also super emotional again with The Everlasting. How could you not be? And oh, my friends recently read that, and that was a rough one. Like, I didn't actually cry, but I was devastated once I was done, so highly recommend it. It seems like such a summer read, and it is, but like, it's a bit of a bummer. So, like, it's meant to end on a hopeful note, but I was deep in grief. But to balance this out, books that made me happy, I've mentioned them, but let's give them another shout out. Dance of Thieves, because again, I was giggling and having fun, so much fun. I am dying for other people in my life to read them. I feel like I don't force other people to read the books that I read unless they're really good and I think they're going to enjoy it, and I feel like this one is going to be one of them. And also Trade of Blood, which again, I was mentioning how Anna just makes me laugh. I giggled a couple of times while reading it, which who doesn't want that? Especially, again, murder mystery fantasy, it's less common, and the humor worked for me. As far as what I want to read for the rest of the year, I want to continue doing a lot of challenges that I've been doing. My Read It and Haul It challenge, which forces me to go through the books that I own, yes, is going to continue. I think I'm going to keep doing the 1 week, 1 shelf instead of actually picking a book, just because it's easier on me. Like, it's not that I'm never going to go back to the big jar, it's just that right now it works. So we're going to try to do a couple more of those, and we'll see how it goes. I'm actually going to do a little bit of a no buy. I didn't buy any books for June, and I'm going to try to stick to it for a little while. I do have to pre-order some of the books that I mentioned for September because of course, but otherwise I'm going to try to do a few more challenges of trying to catch up to my waiting list at the library because I have so many books that are available now and I have to rush and read them because eventually I have to. I feel like it's two goals that are like contradicting each other. I want to read the books that I own, but I also really want to read the books from the library. So we're gonna, you know, try to balance it out because I would like to have less books that are unread on my shelf at the end of the year than at the beginning. And I did buy a couple books throughout the year already, so. But since I've scanned all of them, I can do a lot of fun challenges also. I did do the lowest rated books that I own, and I did, well, you don't know that yet. I just filmed, it's gonna be my next video, my highest rated one, which that was rough, but I did it. And I think I can do like most popular, like less read ones, maybe they're hidden gems, and I can do a bunch of other things like that, like the shortest one, the longest one, which maybe. So I'll definitely try to use my list now that it's done, that it took a while to do, so might as well. It's just a fun way to try to force myself to read them. Sometimes you just need the kick in the butt. Like, I look at them and I'm excited for it, but like sometimes you just have to make a decision and these challenges are doing that for me. Plus, I'm so ahead of my reading goal for this year. Like I said, like 20 books ahead. I could read a couple of big ones, and I have to choose. Again, if I do the longest one on my shelf, it's probably going to be the combined edition. This one. It's like, what, 1,400 pages, 1,800 pages? Something ridiculous. Or I could read Les Miserables, which I just bought. But that's like 2,000 pages. We'll see where the motivation goes, but I did read a couple big books actually this year, like 2 that are over 1,000 pages, but clearly I have the time. I have been reading so many books. Actually, my goal this year was to do fun challenges, which, let me show you an update. Like, I was doing this paint by number of my cats, and I'm almost done with the third one. I just need to do Claudia, which I want to try to do that on camera because that would be fun. And I started the other one for Chip, but it's downstairs because I was doing it while watching TV. But I'm making progress. It's just been very slow. Until the rest of the year, I want to read the books that are my most anticipated because, like I said, I have 10 of them. I want to do fun challenges with what I have on my shelf. Actually, I just did a book haul with classics. That was my last book haul, and I probably should try to read a couple of those. But they're announcing a pretty crazy summer, so I'll probably either be at the beach or stay here for the AC. We'll see. So I'll probably have time to read as much as possible. Actually, I did mention the worst books that I've read this year. So quick shout out to these 3 fantasy books because I think the furthest I went was 150, so 60 pages. So all of them was under that. I had to put them down because of the way the female characters were written. I feel like I'm at the point I have no more patience. If the female character, like the first point of view that is from a female character is an essay scene or an attempted scene, you know, if they are just there for the appearance, the way they're described is just grossing me out. I just put them down, which is rough again to learn, but that's probably why I'm having such a good year. And I just feel like these books don't deserve to be on my shelf. What annoys me the most, I think, is because if I had read these 10 years ago, I wouldn't have had an issue because it's so internalized, it's so normalized. So again, nowadays I just put them down pretty quickly and it's better for me. I was actually disappointed by The Vegetarian. I expected something else completely. It was really nothing like I expected. But yeah, I feel like I didn't read that many awful books this year, which we're gonna hope to continue for the rest of the year. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to hear your answers in the comment section, and I'll put more videos on the screen like I did a unhaul video. I'm getting rid of 50 bucks from my shelf. Very happy about that. And my last read and haul it if you haven't seen me trying to read everything on my shelf, and I'll see you there. Bye.